Introduce our second workshop presenter, and this is a man near and dear to my heart, Rafal Klopotowski, and he's going to be walking us through some mental health and sobriety, 6 houses of self-care. This is my title. I'm not sure whether or not this resonates with what Rafal actually wants to speak to, but we'll be delving into various frameworks and models highlighting how deeply self-care is entwined with sobriety and recovery. So please, let's give Rafal our full attention. And Rafal, would you like to have here, let me make you co-host. There you go. If you'd like to get us started. It's very good to see you, sir.
It's good to see everybody. Good to see you too.
Can you introduce yourself really quickly for those of us who haven't had the pleasure?
My name is Rafal Klopotowski. I am a convener here. I'm also a peer support in mental health. I live in Warsaw in Poland. I work at the mental health hospital and in the Center for Mental Health and at the foundation. And I do sort of counseling, individual counseling, and I run support groups. And I'm a convener here at LifeRing, where I used to run a lot of groups, but because of the time difference, I had to give up. And I'm only running the men's group now on Wednesday at 11. Okay, so I have actually a couple of subjects that I'd like to share. If I can find my slides here, which I do have one. Whoops. I keep forgetting how to do this. Now I know. And share. And that. So Sue introduced me, and it says that I'm going to be talking about self-care, and I will. But before I talk about self-care, I want to share this with you because I ran into this not long ago, and I love this model of recovery. So this model of recovery has been originally actually thought of when talking about mental health. Although, as I keep learning more and more about it, and as I keep using it, I keep finding that it applies to our path as well. And it's called CHIME, for the CHIME short of the 5 elements. And those elements, if you go online and you put CHIME recovery model, you'll get a lot of slides, you get a lot of pictures like this with a lot of explanations. So pick the one that works for you. The way I look at this is that C, it stands for connection and community. And every model that I've ever seen of recovery has connection and community in it, in one way or another. And I believe that what we have here at LifeRing, the connection that we have with one another is this huge at least 1/5 portion of our recovery, if not more. Just because we stand by one another and we support one another and we see each other every week or every couple of days. Connection is everything. Hope and optimism, hope that our path will lead to sober living, and faith that it will happen is a starting point to it. And keeping it there always somewhere in the back of my head keeps me going. That hope and faith, and I mean faith as in believing in the outcome of this. This is LifeRing, secular recovery. So I don't mean that faith, I mean the other faith. It also can be dreams. It can be what you dream up for yourself, what you would love to accomplish in your life, that you would want to one day live in Bora Bora or in Hawaii and not have to work, or whatever the dream that you may have, that you'll have a big family with 7 kids and 4 grandkids and have Thanksgiving and have to set up extra tables. Whatever your dream may be, it's in that in that little circle here. Identity. Identity is who we are. However, for the purpose of us being here together, I believe that that's the sober self. That's who I am really, not the addicted self, but the sober self. And knowing who that person is, as we all know, is a key to our recovery. So that's what the identity stands for. Meaning in life. Meaning in life is what gives us sense of living, what we get up for in the morning, why we're here, what we do for our brethren, what do we contribute to the society, to our communities, to science, to trade, to technology, whatever it is that we do, who we are, and what gives our lives meaning. That's that portion. And empowerment. What gives us strength to do all this. So that's in a very short description of the Chime recovery model. I encourage you to look it up. And even if you just see the more and more of these slides, it's very handy. I actually have another slide here that I can show you that does have some explanation. Let me just I keep doing this wrong. So here's another one, and that one has a little bit more explanation of what Mr. Leamy, Bird, Boutier, Williams, and Slade had in mind in 2011 when they worked on this. So peer support and support groups is obviously under connectedness, motivation to change, hope inspiring relationships. Not every relationship is hopeful, and some aren't. Identity, again, positive sense of identity and overcoming stigma. Sure, that's important. However, for us who are here, who live with this model of recovery that we practice here, thinking of it as my sober self is really where I go with that. Meaning in mental illness experience. Again, this is meant for recovery from mental illness. However, there is a meaning in our struggle. There's a meaning in what we have gone through and come to this point in life where we are right now. And trying to put it in the context of my whole life is kind of what that is about, is that finding meaning in that struggle, finding meaning in those hard days, in those awful days that we all live through, in a loss, and in you know what I'm talking about, all this terrible things that we're running away from now, or finding meaning in them, or trying to find closure. And then of course spirituality and empowerment. So do you have any questions about this, Chime? Anybody? Yes, no, maybe? No? Okay. Yes, Laura.
I was just looking at this chime, and just to kind of tie it in with some of the other things, apparently there is a newer model, and it's
Oh.
C dash chime, the C standing for creativity. A lot of mental health nurses have used that. So since we've talked about creativity and such today, I thought I'd point that out. Thank you.
Sure, absolutely. Absolutely. Sue.
I wanted to know where you found this and how you apply this to your business side.
I found this in a lecture. There was a professor here who is our in a way a leader in this process of moving from hospital-centered mental health care to environmental, to community mental health care. And he was making a presentation about different models of recovery, and he was talking about that one. So that's how I found it. That's how I found it, and it really spoke to me. And I use it talking to my patients at the hospital who are trying, who are blindly trying to kind of feel their way into health and into their new lives. And that gives them a lot of structure. I mean, in some odd ways, that gives structure. But again, if anyone wants a lot more information, just typing in Chime recovery model into Google or whatever your choice of browser is, and there'll be plenty of it, because it's relatively common. It's just I never heard of it until last year, so I'm glad to share. Yes,
Is it
Jackie.
Chime, Chime? Chime
Correct.
Line. Okay, thank
Right.
you.
Right.
I'm really
community-
interested in the art
Huh?
aspect of it. I'm a retired special education teacher, and art therapy has always been a big part of that. And certainly for myself, it's been the same. So I'm really interested. Thank you, Laura, for mentioning that. That's great.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mentioned that my patients who are just starting on their path really, we always kind of talked about new normal life. We had this phrase, new normal life, that the mental illness or the experience with addiction had destroyed in my case, destroyed my normal life. And what I had to come up with is a new normal life, which is a nice way of putting it. And it did happen that way. My life is nothing like what it used to be before I started using these many years ago. But I found another way of thinking about it is that it's not really returning to who you were, even if it's your new life, but you're still you. It's more about who you can be, who you want to be. Because this bout with recovery gave me an opportunity, literally an opportunity, to rebuild myself, to build myself into somebody who I wasn't before. So in that sense, that experience, both of the mental health condition that I have, bipolar disorder, having bipolar disorder, and having been addicted for 14 years to opioids, gave me a chance to become somebody else. And I'm very happy with continue to developing that self, that identity. I love being part of my community. I love being able to contribute to it by working with folks who need work, who need work, who need support. Because it gives meaning to my life, and I draw power in odd ways. I draw power from them. There are many ways people draw power, but just the thought that I'm going to end up in the hospital again on Monday morning, and I'll meet these people, and my smile will probably not get a smile back for another couple of weeks, and maybe in the middle of the third week, my smile will get back. Hello, and another smile. It's worth getting up in the morning. It really is. Anyhow, the other thing I wanted to share with you, again, it's taken from the internet, happily, is about self-care. Self-care is you all know what it is. I actually divide self-care into two different utilities, I'd say. One is coping skills and one is self-care. Coping skills is everything that I've learned to do to take care of a particular issue. So, for example, when when I live here in Warsaw, where opioids are available without prescription. Some opioids are available without prescription. So the second I have the thought, I had a back pain, for example, a couple of days ago, and the first thought goes, yeah, go to the pharmacy. They're there, you'll get them, and you can get as many as you want. You have an excuse. The second these thoughts start to show up, my coping skill is open one of my notebooks here when I talk about being stoned. And I just read a couple of passages and I'm good. That's my coping skill. My coping skill when I'm in heavy depression to get out of bed is just to put one foot on the ground. If I can put one foot on the ground today, that's nothing else, I'm good. Maybe the next day or two, I'll put 2 feet on the ground. But those are coping skills. Those are actual ideas, actual things to do for a particular issue. Now, self-care is what I do to stay happy, stay healthy, stay generally upbeat, and be able to face the day, however difficult it may be, knowing that I have my batteries charged and that when they deplete, there is a way to recharge them again. And I found this model, share here. I found this model, this self-care wheel. You might have seen it. It divides self-care into 6 sections, which is kind of the best part of it. That I'm a big proponent of kind of dividing something that's really complicated into smaller pieces. Very often in life, what happens is that our issues, we have so many, there is like rent to pay and job to find, and the girlfriend or boyfriend that doesn't get along with me, and my mom wants something and whatever, and the car is broken. And when all these things are put together, there's a big giant knot. And as long as I keep looking at it that way, I'm in trouble. The second I can divide them up and say, okay, forget it. Today I'm just going to deal with a car. I'm not going to deal with a girlfriend. I'm not going to deal with a job. I'm not going to deal with anything else, just a car. Life gets easier. And so with the self-care, I find this wheel, and I found there's these 6 different elements. Oh, this is pretty cool because I can just deal with one at a time. And then by reading these examples, I discovered that physical, for example, is more than I thought, because physical I thought was, getting medical care, regular medical care and exercise and eating healthy. And that's it. Well, those are there for sure. But apparently safe housing is also part of the physical self-care. Being sexual, that was interesting, because I thought that might be more emotional or more spiritual even. But it turns out that they put it under the physical. Massages and acupuncture, bubble baths, kissing, turning off, just doing nothing, just turning everything off and just lying there in bed or sitting in the armchair looking out the window, looking at my neighbors. That's it. Turning off the cell phone. That's a big one. Computer is easy. Not going on to social media is much easier than turning off the phone. The phone is hard to turn off. Psychological, self-therapy. All right, well, that's kind of obvious, right? Psychological therapy. Yeah, but there's a lot more to it. It turns out that whether you, in parentheses, I mean, in quotation marks, believe in aromatherapy, it smells nice and just gives you a kind of nice experience. That for the couple of moments, you have this nice lavender smell or lily of the valley or vinegar, whatever you like, or gasoline. Some people have all kinds of different tastes in what is an exciting smell. And just letting it be there for a few minutes. Relaxing in the sun. Okay, so that's psychological, not physical. All right, well, so that's goes into that section. That's kind of interesting. Practicing asking and receiving help. That's a pretty tall order. Asking for help. We don't like that. I mean, not all of us. Some of us are better at this. Some of us are not as good. I'm not very good at it, and I had to learn it, and I finally learned it. But asking is one thing, and receiving is another. So those are some of them are for me were big steps. Some of these steps I can't do. I can't garden because I don't have a garden. Thinking about my positive qualities comes difficult for me. Hey, support groups. I'm in support groups. Love them. Moving on, professional. All right, so professional, some of it is probably pretty obvious. Let me see. Well, it is obvious. Take all vacation days, for example, and sick days. Well, just check yourself. Do you have vacation days coming? And how many of them are from last year? And can you leave work for longer than a week? I get a lot of vacations here. I get whatever it is, 26 days of vacation, working days of vacation. That's more than 5 weeks. And I've taken them all last year. And 2-week vacation is pretty much a minimum that gives you a rest, because for the first few days you're still working, and the last few days you're starting to think about work, and it's just that middle part that gives you rest. Now, another one that's a big deal for me that I always keep bringing up, and in Silicon Valley, that's very important, is the leave work at work section. And don't work in your time off. Well, after COVID, a lot of us work from home, and oh, great, I can work from home. Yeah, but then you're always at work. And how often, you kind of work, get up in the morning, you work your share, the family comes back, you have dinner, and then after dinner, oh, I'll just turn on the computer, answer a few emails. You're still working. And you never get a break from that way. You're always at work. And what happens if you work for one of those big companies that make all these accommodations for folks to work at home and at the company, like Google or something, where you have your swimming pool and your daycare for kids and a barber shop, and they feed you, and you have a room you can go sleep all night. You're at work, you're at home, and you're at home and you're at work. You never get a break from one another. And hygiene, mental health hygiene is a key. There are times that you work and times that you don't work. And so this is a big long speech about my pet peeve, but take this in consideration. Learning how to say no at work is a big deal. It is hard to say no at work, I know. All right, personal, not psychological, not emotional, but personal. Learn who you are. All right, we go back to identity in that chime section, right? Learn who you are. That's a lifelong process, I believe, but it's worth to be on that trip. It's worth to be on that path, to keep trying to define yourself and find out who you are. Be mindful of what you do, what you think, choices that you make. Eva will probably will be talking about mindfulness a little bit more later. To me, mindfulness falls into that personal category because of this constant being mindful of myself, of my choices, of my emotions, of everything. All right. So learn who you are and figure out what you want in life. That's kind of go hand in hand. Making a plan, short-term and long-term goals. Again, that can go along with those dreams that we talked about earlier, along with the hope section in Chime. Dreams are one thing, goals and plan are something else. Dreams are something that I would love to ride a motorcycle. I will never ride a motorcycle. But that's a huge dream of mine. Sometimes I drive on some road where I would love to be not in a car, but on a bike, and I won't. But that's a dream. That's my dream. I have a dream to travel the World War I Western Front line, but I make plans for that. So that's a goal. That's more of a goal than a dream. It sits with me for now 5 years. So eventually I will do it, but I can plan that. So that's a combination of the two. Getting coffee with a friend, foster friendships. Oh, that falls into personal. Great. So that's community. Write a poem. Don't show it to anybody, just write it. Learn to play guitar. I did. I have no musical hearing, but I can learn how to grab chords on the neck of the guitar, and I have them written over the song, and then I just grab them and I strum the guitar and I sing along, terribly, but I had fun. I did it for several years. I have 2 guitars. I still do it. It's a lot of fun doing it, and it gives me a nice break from things. Moving on. Emotional. Self-love, self-compassion, letting yourself cry. It's a hard one, especially at a time when tears really, really want to come out. I had my dear friend died a couple of years back, and it was really difficult. Got a really hard time. I couldn't stop thinking about it, and I couldn't sleep. It was terrible. And I went to my therapist at one point, and we talked about it. And the first question he asked me, "Do you cry?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Well, do. Why don't you want to cry? Cry. I mean, you're in that place that's what you want to do." And I went home and I cried for several hours, and it was really cleansing. So allowing yourself that moment of weakness, in parentheses again, because it's not really weakness, vulnerability, that's it, that's a better word. That moment of full vulnerability is quite wonderful. On the flip side of that, watch Mel Brooks. Watch Blazing Saddles again. Young Frankenstein. Enough said on that one. Buy yourself a present. Just, I have a bipolar disorder. I have to watch out with buying myself presents, because I can buy, a new car, for example, take a lot of loans and buy a new car. So just be careful with your budget, but whatever it is that you buy yourself something that you want to have, not that you need. Oh, I always want a new refrigerator. I'm gonna make myself a present. Oh, don't buy a new refrigerator. Go buy yourself, I don't know, new record player or new, I don't know, whatever it is that you want to spoil yourself with. Buy that. Having pets, ooh, baby, that's emotional. That's truly, truly, truly an emotional experience. And spiritual, and that's sort of for the end, because it's an important section for us. Spiritual life is wonderful. I have quite a wonderful spiritual life. I am an atheist. I don't believe in God. I don't believe in higher power of any kind. I believe in power that I have, however small or high or low it may be. But I do have spiritual life. My spiritual life comes from meditation, from mindfulness, from communing with other people, from their trust that they open up, they show their vulnerability with me. That's where my spiritual life lies. Now, interestingly enough, there are a lot more people inspire me in a lot of ways. Sometimes I hear stories and hear of their victories that are truly, truly, truly inspiring. What they had to overcome. As much as I heard those stories here in our meetings here at LifeRing of the overcoming the things that life has thrown at us. That feels spiritual to me. But that's interesting. Singing and dancing is spiritual, as it turns out. I suppose there was, once I thought about it, it's kind of obvious. But we're not talking about singing necessarily in a church. We're talking about singing along with Bob Dylan, for example, or singing along with, I don't know, whatever your taste in music may be. Of course, yoga, meditation. I already talked about meditation. Watching sunsets, watching nature, for me is truly a spiritual experience. There's a tree outside my window here that loses its leaves in the winter, and it's just a bunch of sticks. And then comes spring, and it slowly, very slowly starts to get a little green, and then in between the greens are white flowers that bloom, and then there's more green, and the colors just every day is slightly different. And now the fruit is starting to show up on it. So it's gonna get red in a few weeks, probably when those cherries come to full fruit, or apples, whatever the hell they are. But that's nature is my spiritual life. The other one that's here that I always thought is interesting is play. It's not playing music, it's being playful, doing things with pets, for example, playing with pets, throwing a stick for your dog, playing with the kids, with grandkids, playing with your friends, card games, playing, just being a kid. That's kind of what it is. Kind of dropping everything away and finding that abandon in just what you do at the moment, and what you do at the moment doesn't have anything to do with your job or with the car or with any of those things that we're mostly preoccupied with. And so what I do with this, the way I work that is, there are various models to work this. The way I look at it is that every now and then I open this up, I look through it, and I think, okay, which one have I forgotten? Which one of the six sections have I forgotten recently? And then I look, all right, so I haven't been spending enough time on my physical aspect of my life. So what am I missing here? All right, I've been eating hamburgers lately. All right, well, let me clear out my refrigerator. Let's go shopping. Let's make sort of conscious choices, and go take a massage, get a massage someplace, and listen to some music, and just sit at home quietly and listen to some music. Gonna take a couple of these, but so that's how I work that. If you go online again and you look for that self-care wheel, it look almost exactly the same, except that those spaces under those headers will be empty. and you can write things in there on your own, or they will have like a thermometer kind of scale looking thing, and you can fill it in. No, oh, I've been doing this and this, so I've done a lot of psychological, a lot of spiritual, a lot of professional, just a little bit of physical, very much personal, and you can find which ones you're missing sort of in your self-care, in the end. Self-care is everything you're going to do to be happy, to make yourself happy. And those are the long-term things that will make you happy, not those coping skills that will help you with just one or two things. Having a ballet tickets once a month and going to the theater once a month or going to a concert once a month. All of these things, they'll all fall into one of those sections, but that's what self-care really is. It's just these riding a bike every day, or we're going to the gym. Those are the sort of obvious ones. Going to the beach once on the weekend, at least once. Making sure that you go to dinner with friends. The community, we're very lucky that we have our own community here at LifeRing, and that community is not shallow. What we share with one another are very deep thoughts, emotions, stories, our weaknesses, our strengths, and that's a very unusual community to have of many people. I can walk into any of those groups and share my deepest fears with you, and I know you will understand. And I know nobody's going to laugh at me. I'll get a lot of love back. I'll get a lot of support. I might get an idea how to do this or that. But that's a very unusual community. But try to have something like that in your real life. Well, this is real life, but in a life that's I think about LifeRing because I do it online as an online community. I know it's not always online community. I think about it that way because that's the way it's for me. But try to have friends or a community of people with whom you meet face to face and be able to have a relationship like that. And that also will give you a lot of care for you. That will also be care for yourself. Anyways, now said, is there any questions? Yes, Jackie.
Yes, I have a question. I've been working for about 5 years with the Climate Psychology Alliance. I'm not a psychologist. I'm a special education teacher, retired. But I'm on a lot of meetings, including meetings that are just the other psychologists, because I've also been a minister for 35 years in earth spirituality, which is not a religion, it's a spirituality. And because of, I want to know if you agree with what I keep telling people. As a special ed teacher, we're told there are 5 senses. If a child is missing one, you want to work on the other 4. When people are on Zoom, so often they say, well, I can just see you and hear you. I say, I don't agree with you. I believe that we connect at a soul level because number one, it can be as anonymous as you want. They're all set up to be confidential. We feel safe. We're still in our own home. Nobody is threatening us at the moment. And so we tend to pour out ourselves in a way that it takes us beyond those 5 senses. And I think that's why the connections become so unbelievably strong. I mean, I was in a meeting the other day. I often see people crying because, of course, it's about the climate. But I was in a meeting the other day just with 2 other therapists, and they were complaining that they both had autistic clients, that they didn't have as much background in autism as they'd like. And what do you think in your therapy work? And that kind of so shocked me because I feel of myself as a teacher and not as a therapist, but I have a lot of experience with that. And so I talked about it. And I walked away feeling so full and rich and whole, as though I had connected at such an incredibly deep spiritual soul level that it was just overwhelming to me. And yet they're I'm in Ecuador. They're in another part of the world. And so I want to know if you feel the same. Is that in your experience with working people with online who are in tremendous pain and are trying to work towards recovery and are able to, because we move beyond the I can see you and hear you. Thank you.
You know, it what happens here is that some of my patients want to meet in person and some patients want to meet online. Personally, I don't see a difference. They do. For some reason, some of them think that meeting in person is different than meeting in online. I don't see the difference. I've seen people cry in an online meeting, and I've seen people cry in my office, and I've seen people not wanting to talk about things here and there. It really, I don't really see that difference. I think it's more about who comes. I think it's very individual. Maybe I should put it that way. I like the fact that I'm sitting here in my own room and I can be talking to you and we can be talking about such deep personal things. And if the fact that I'm in my room and you're in your room allows us to do that, then gosh, why not? I mean, that's what we want. I mean, that's what I live for, is for that connection. It doesn't make any difference to me. Laura.
I'm so grateful to hear you say that because I feel so strongly this way. And I just feel like we're really breaking the barrier of being on a different part of the world. I feel that so strongly. Thank you so much.
Sure. Laura.
I'll just touch upon, I don't believe that either in-person meetings or online meetings are inherently one is better than the other, but certainly the venues benefit different people. Some people have a personal style. So it's great that we have both. I just posted in chat because we were talking about, the environment and things like that. And somebody posted, I posted a link to one of the 7 pillars of self-care being environmental. And someone posted, let's see, Mark T posted the wheel that includes environmental. So if that's of interest to anybody.
Sure. There are many models of this. I mean, I should have probably said it to begin with, that there are many models of self-care. I like that one. So, and I know that one. So I'm just sharing with you what I use and what I know and how I use it. But gosh, of course, environmental. For me, environmental is in it because it appears here watching sunsets and taking a walk and all those things. So there is an environmental being communing with nature. I think it's in there, but there are different models, and gosh, by all means, find yours. Just set your path to recovery. Find your model of write your own wheel, put your own sections in. Robert.
Yeah, on the concept of virtual and physical meetings, I find it fascinating because I find there are so many people that are empowered, as what both of you have said, that there's the sense of there's no danger involved. You're in your personal space. The other person is in everyone's in their personal space. So there's a factor of safety involved in the online stuff. And certain people are attracted to that. It just, you know, you don't have to get dressed and drive someplace to go to an in-person meeting. I think it's the expectation of the individual involved. And I've seen people change, and well, they told me they changed. They said they were going to hate this type of meeting, but it's the only meetings they can go to. And slowly over time, they change, and then they prefer the online experience as opposed to the in-person experience. And as Laura says, I think there are some people that just need warm bodies next to them to
Mhm,
prosper and
mhm.
to feel alive.
And you know, the in-person meeting can be both. You feel more vulnerable because you're kind of all there. And some people need that vulnerability to open up.
Yeah.
And so then it works for them. Others, on the other hand, like to feel more safe, and then being at home makes them feel safe. So just like you say, it's different people, different things. So
Yeah.
As someone who convenes both, I have to say they do have unique characteristics. And again, to Laura's point, what appeals to you? I think the commitment to getting to an online in-person meeting, I think is heroic. Especially for people who weren't raised in that kind of during that time when that's all that was available. Those people who like young people who come to an in-person meeting. I always look at them with awe because I know they had to get up out of bed when they're so used to doing everything, including ordering their food from the right in front of the screen. So I don't know. I think again, I think they are different, innately different. You have a different vibe with each. This is casual. I can go pee in the corner, you won't even know, which I'm about to do, and in a mason jar.
and we will know.
But again, I'm just so glad that we have both, and I really want to say that LifeRing has embraced both so nicely. But every time someone talks about online meetings, I got to give a shout out to my friend Robert there for setting this whole thing up. Thank you, Robert. Now I'm going to go hit the
Okay.
mason jar.
All right, go for it.
Bye.
You know, the online meeting has another sort of, for some of my patients, another quality, because I have patients who have social phobias. And the city here is not, I mean, you can drive, obviously, I drive it, but it's hard to drive. And for somebody with social phobia, taking a bus or taking a tram is difficult. And so to be there in person, they have to break through that barrier too. And that's their recovery as well. So there are benefits in this way or that way. Jackie.
And the other thing is, I'm unable to leave because I'm a caregiver. My husband has 17 diseases from serving in Vietnam, and I feel like the online gives me an opportunity to use what I studied and what I learned and what I'm passionate about. And the other thing is, because of climate, Ecuador, right now it's raining again in the dry season. We have all these roads. Normally a road is flat. Now our roads are like this. They're all torn up. We can't even move from this village to the city where all the psychologists are. We just can't go. And so people have discovered that there are other ways of getting together. And I just love the online meetings because of that, because it does give us a way to still reach each other. But to hear you say that the end result seems to work either way is such a relief. That's such a wonderful thing to hear. Thank you so much.
Sure.
I think we need I know I needed a break. I think maybe we all do, but I want to say, Rafal, I'm so grateful to you for bringing us not only your great wisdom, but also the tools that supported what you brought us. So thank you. There's some really
Thank
great
you.
things here that we looked at. I'm going to go get some white out and hit this little that little circle and start adding my own things because I think it's an exciting tool to play with. So I really appreciate it, and here's to you, and I really appreciate everyone's comments and questions, and have fun in at home. Thanks to
Yeah, I will. I'll probably check out pretty soon because it's getting late here.
I don't
so
blame you at all. And
I
really,
came
thank you
back from
so much,
conference
Rafal.
yesterday and it was I'm kind of beat, but I'll probably check out, but I'll be back tomorrow.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.